This compilation goes over the ICE raids in Los Angeles.
Breaking news at this hour, multiple simultaneous federal raids happening involving Homeland Security, leading to clashes in downtown LA. Stu Mundell live up in Skyfox to tell us all about it. Stu?
Hey, Sandra, this is going to be one of two locations, or actually three locations, that Skyfox has been over this afternoon. This one seems to be the most active. Now, this is going to be in the downtown Los Angeles area near the corner of 15th and Santa Fe.
You're looking at Los Angeles. Chaos and clashes as ICE raid locations throughout our city, taking at least 24 into custody. The raid sparking confrontation between protesters and federal agents.
And breaking right now, a large crowd of people is gathering at the Roybal Federal Building in downtown Los Angeles. And as you can see right there, you can see some of that crowd. It's been contentious for much of the day as protesters showed up as those ICE raids happened at a couple of locations.
3 unmarked vans coming into the Metropolitan Detention Center to pick up immigrants detained at the adjacent Roybal Federal Building. Federal agents picking them up when they showed up for their scheduled immigration hearings. You can hear someone asking for help from behind a hallway closed door. The images being sent by immigration attorneys who were there with their clients to the League of the United Latin American Citizens.
This started as early as Tuesday. Some folks were being detained, obviously, more than 24 hours in some cases. That they were children, that they were women that were expecting.
That they were showing up for their usual check-in, that they had had a stay placed on them so that they didn't, deportation stay, so they weren't supposed to be detained or deported, and that they were basically being held in the basement, and that they were being, and that they were given some kind of tents, sleeping in tents.
The basement or interview rooms at Roybal are being used because the local holding facilities are full. We're marching, actually. They just actually started to move. Let me get out of the way because you don't need to see me. What you need to see is about maybe 150, 200 people from the group we were at. Now they're marching around the Roybal building to meet another group of about 200 people who were rallying over there. And you can get a sense of the size of the crowds that are coming together here in downtown Los Angeles, considering that this was put together at the last minute very quickly. And they're getting this many people here in a couple of hours' notice. This is probably going to grow. It's a huge coalition of different immigrant groups and the SEIU, which is bringing a lot of people into this. As you know, a lot of SEIU workers are immigrants, and they don't like what is happening. Many of these people, keep in mind, the people who are being detained, who are at the building, are people who are showing up for hearings. Now, I have not heard of anybody with a green card or a citizen in that situation. These are people who came into the country illegally and had appointments to start working on things like work visas, permits to stay. They showed up as they thought they were supposed to. What brought you here?
My cousin, she got a link to TikTok live, so then we decided to come and show our support.
Why is it important to you?
My parents are immigrants, so I want them to feel safe.
Are you scared? Are your parents scared right now to leave the house and things like that?
Yeah, I was actually worried because my dad was at work, so he stayed overtime in order to not go through the ICE deportation thing.
Protesters are now trying to get into that building. Christina, tell us what's going on.
Okay, I gotta be careful here. What we have is a group of protesters who try to enter the building. They are actually using the garbage, and you see that we're getting pelted with gas pellets. That is tear gas. Okay, so what we had was a crowd of about 20 people who tried to enter the building. The main 200, 300, 400 people, they have moved down the street. What remains here is about 50 people who are what can call hardcore. And they're saying that they want to make a stand. The tear gas came from the officers inside the parking lot, and that is what they use to push the crowd back because the crowd was pushing inside into the parking lot. They actually got through that initial gate and they started breaking down the area. So at that point, that is when they came out and they they used what you saw.
Where are the progressive council members? Where's the mayor? If they object to this, they should be out here doing something. If they're not going to do anything, then we're going to do something.
Let's take a live look from above now. A standoff between law enforcement and protesters. Christina reported that there were about 500 protesters when it was at the biggest crowd. Then it diminished down to fewer than 100 people. It looks like those are the stragglers that are still there right now. How substantial a stand is the LAPD making? Because they've been standing back all day basically saying, look, this is being handled by the feds. We're only going to be called in for crowd control or if something goes awry.
That has been the position all along, as even Chief McDonald has come out saying, you know, we're not involved in immigration policy, but they are standing by now trying to break this up because they don't want this to get out of hand, we're being told. That's why even the CHP with their patrols have come in to try to keep the crowd, the protesters, the stragglers, as you say, and that's a good way of identifying them, from moving in on the freeway itself. We've seen it once they declared this an unlawful assembly. We saw dozens of the protesters walking away, walking down Los Angeles, getting away, and we'd say, where you go? And they say, well, you know, we don't want to get arrested, we're leaving here. So that's the feeling. So you have those, quote, stragglers who are still there, and as the CHP helicopter circles overhead.
Nothing escalating at this hour. In fact, when Christina Gonzalez was there at the detention center, it was much more animated earlier this afternoon.
It seemed, yes, it seemed to be, looking at some of that video, watching it, yes, they were much more agitated, if you will, a couple of hours ago when all of this was breaking out. Of course, that's before LAPD moved in with its show of force and its skirmish line. And even at that point, even before the CHP moved in, shutting down access on and off to the freeway itself.
The next day,
So this is what's left of our work car. We had it parked near the scene. Obviously, we got here right at the beginning before we knew it was going to escalate to the situation that it got to. This is a brand new news truck that we just got. Looks like the tires were slashed. They busted into the windows. We'll see. Our personal bags were in the car. They stole all the stuff that was inside. There are some things here. Looks like they took cinder blocks through the window.
just a regular, ordinary, peaceful, organic protest. A short while later,